Never stop reading the Bible.
How can divine power be both an instrument of absolute justice and, at the same time, boundless mercy? You know, it's one of the oldest questions out there. Today, we're going to explore it by looking at two incredibly powerful and really different narratives from the book of Genesis. We're talking about a story of massive judgment, right next to a story of individual grace. Okay, let's dive right in.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll unpack that central tension between justice and mercy. Then we'll get into the story of a city's judgment in Genesis 19 and see the fallout for one family. After that, we'll switch gears and look at a test of faith in Genesis 20. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see what the core message really is.
What's so fascinating is that these two chapters, sitting right next to each other, really make us wrestle with this big question about divine intervention and where we fit in.
On one hand, you have this idea of righteous punishment. A full-on confrontation with sin that's just run rampant. But then, on the other hand, you have this incredible, unfailing grace, stepping in for people who, let's be honest, are far from perfect. And that's the powerful contrast we're digging into today.
All right, first up, we've got the story from Genesis 19. And this one is dramatic. It's almost like a blockbuster movie. A story of large-scale judgment on a whole society.
So here's how it all goes down. First, the story sets the scene. Sodom and Gomorrah are just completely consumed by depravity. Then, a clear warning comes. This isn't some random ambush. But what's really interesting is that even with all this corruption, there's this specific act of mercy. Lot and his family are rescued. It's only after they are safe that the final step happens, a fiery destruction, a total and complete consequence for what the cities had become.
But here's the thing. Just being pulled from the fire doesn't mean the story's over. The personal tragedy that hits Lot's family is, in its own way, just as powerful as the city's destruction.
This really shows just how hard it is to truly leave the past behind. Lot's wife gets one simple instruction: run, and whatever you do, don't look back. But that connection to the life she knew was just too strong. She disobeys, looks back, and the consequence is instant. She becomes a pillar of salt. And the poor choices just keep coming for the family, leading to that really tragic and disturbing story with Lot and his daughters. It's a powerful reminder that being physically saved doesn't automatically heal what's broken on the inside.
So we've seen the big picture, a whole society judged. But now, what happens when the camera zooms way in, from a corrupt city to just one person, a revered hero who makes a huge mistake? That's what we're going to see in Genesis 20.
Now we're turning to Genesis 20. And the scale here just completely changes. This isn't about a city anymore. It's a really personal story about a key figure, Abraham, and a moment of pretty serious weakness.
Can you believe it? In this chapter, we see Abraham, this giant of faith, make the exact same mistake he made before. He's in a new place, Gerar, and he's scared for his life. So what does he do? He lies and says his wife Sarah is just his sister, putting her in a terrible position. It's a really shocking moment of human fear from a spiritual hero.
And right when it seems like Abraham's lie is about to cause a total disaster, there's this sudden intervention that changes everything. God actually speaks to the king, Abimelech, in a dream, tells him the truth, and stops him from touching Sarah. The rescue here happens in spite of what Abraham did, not because of it. This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? Look at the difference. Abraham is driven by fear, and his action is to lie to a king. But God's reaction isn't punishment, it's grace and faithfulness. God steps in to protect Sarah. And here's the kicker, the outcome. The human king, Abimelech, rightly calls Abraham out for his lie. But through grace, Abraham not only avoids disaster, he ends up with even more blessings. His reputation is saved, not because he earned it in that moment, but because of a faithfulness that was shown to him.
So we have two very different stories here, right? One is this epic public judgment, and the other is a story of private failure and grace that wasn't earned. So what's the unified message? What ties them together?
Well, it all boils down to a powerful paradox. What these two chapters show us together is that divine power can bring strict, unyielding justice against widespread corruption, like we saw in Sodom, and yet, at the very same time, it can show this deep, unwavering faithfulness to flawed individuals, just like we saw with Abraham. It's justice and mercy, held together in this incredible, delicate balance.
So, it really leaves us with a big question to think about. If severe judgment and unearned grace can exist side by side, what do these ancient stories really tell us about failure, about redemption, and about the nature of second chances?
All the analysis in this explainer comes from the work of the Center Studio.